Hey, Hucklebears. So I thought I'd do this in the interest of time, try to speed things up. So we're going to run a new offense tomorrow. It's a split stack, and it's two handlers, three on one side, two on the other. You can think of this as an initiating horizontal play. If it breaks down, we just break into the usual three handler set and four-person horizontal across the field. But in this case, we are going to just show you what we're doing here. So we've got a single handler here, our center handler. Here's our person who's catching the pole. We have three on the left side. We're going to call this 1, 2, and 3. And then we've got a A and a B. So this is A and that's B. So we have our centering path that goes here. By this time, we would have a mark associated with this. Ideally, we know which way we're going. The play doesn't stop. We do the same thing as we do in a regular middle in the middle. Regardless of which way the force is going, we're going to execute the same initiating play. So you can think of this as essentially a middle in the middle, except instead of having three handlers and the other two cutters on opposite sides. We're trying to maximize the space that A and B have to cut by stacking over to the side. So at this point, we've got a mark that comes down, and for our first, just to explain it, we're going to force this way. Same action that happens, we're going to be cutting in our same pattern. B will cut across, A is going out, and then at this point we should have A coming back down for the disc, and that would be a continuation here, with B now cutting out deep for A. So here's A, and here is, and here is B cutting deep, and we have a connection. That's our default play, right? Of course, there's an option that B doesn't make it that cut viable, so they come back under. This is still viable. This is no different than what we typically run in a horizontal, except there's not a person on this side. They've got more of the field open to them. That's the standard play that we're trying to execute. Okay, so let's just do it quickly with the force going the other way, just make it really clear. And this is no different than our regular horizontal that happens. So we have our A and our B here. Now the force is going to be, instead of over here, our force is going to be this way. We centered the disc. The cutters are going to run the exact same initiation, so they don't actually have to worry about knowing which way the force is. This makes things quicker. Otherwise, you're waiting to see what force is actually being put on. And sometimes it can be difficult because they're forcing a little bit straight up or whatever. Same thing happens. We cut across and we go out. So this is A, cuts across, B is here. Excuse me. Okay, I'm trying to do this all in one shot. So, of course, we can certainly hit A as they come across. That's a viable cut. If that is happening, B still comes down this way. Of course, now we've got a mark that is on here, and we've got A now with the disc on this open side, but B has an opportunity. It is somewhat difficult to get this timing right so they can score on this side of the field. If it's wide open, take it, no problem, because they're forcing this way or on the open side. You made a cut to the break side, it's still perfectly valid to take that shot. If they come under, do not come under on the open side in this space. Remember, we've got 6 players all jammed up on the side. This is going to be tight. There's a scenario here that makes this unlikely anyways, but ideally, if A does get it on the open side here, what we want, instead of this cut, B, if A gets it on the open side, we want B to come back down and now B is hitting the brake side, and A's responsibility either inside or around to get it back to the good side of the field. Okay, so same scenario as we do initially. We don't change the pattern of the middle in the middle. We just change our angles and change what's the brake force throw. Okay, so that's what's going to happen when everything goes right, regardless of where the force is. So here's A and B back again. Here's A, here's B. And this time we'll just put the mark on as expected this way. So the mark, and in this case now, what happens if A and B break down? Something happens, A and B are now out of the picture, they bracketed or something that's happened. What we always want, and this does not change from any of our horizontal plays, is we want the handler that was here to move up and is somewhat lateral, but on the brake side, so it would be on the opposite side if the force is different, on the brake side of this other handler. So when that play breaks down, the first thing that has to happen is a jam cut across and a quick dish. So now we've retained possession, and it's essentially now we're off to the races. It's just we're going to play horizontal game now. At that point, the disc has the play hasn't happened. We're resetting the disc, and now we've just got the disc over to this other side in a handler's possession, in a power position. So if there's anything happening with A and B, they can certainly strike and make that work. Okay, so let's say that doesn't happen. The other handler has moved out of that space, and they haven't got the frisbee, so now they're over here. What we want as our secondary is one to be coming down across this way. So there would be a brake force throw over here. Two is going to then move in a diagonal across this field. That's another possible option for them. It's probably unlikely, but it's another option. And three here is just going deep. So, sorry, is just going to head deep. So there's three options at that point for the handler. So the initiating play doesn't work. They've got one option with the jam cut, two option with the brake side round. Third option is just somebody coming across, just like a tree or a super tree. And the fourth option is someone deep. That's what's happening with 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Again, doesn't change if the generally it doesn't change with the force, but let's just cover that. So now the force is on this side. So of course the handler has moved themselves during that initiation play. They've passed it the center handler. They see that the force is the opposite side. They come over here. And then what they're going to be doing, the play breaks down. So then what they're going to be looking for is to move across into this area for that jam cut and to ideally get that frisbee. So this does create a problem for one, because now one is somewhat hampered across with this other handler. So this is not necessarily a viable cut directly at that same space, but that's okay because there's still the primary reset. But in this case, they can do a quick shot across, hopefully getting an inside shot here. So they're just angling things slightly different. 2 is still doing their shot. 3 is still doing their shot over here. So making space. So if we're still looking as 1 as our primary or secondary handler for the reset in that case. Okay, there's one more thing we need to go through, and that is what happens when the play works, but we've got a continuation. So we have the disc in the center. We have the other handler set up over here. We've got A and B on this side. B's moved over, heading out. A has head out and come under, right? So now A has gotten the disc. Here's A. B has gone out and they've come under, and now they're in their possession, and B has the disc here. Okay, so now we're in this position where B is being forced in this direction. They've come under for the frisbee. Whose cut is it next? In this case, it's always 3, right? Same scenario. Who's on the far side? Who's on the break side? Who's at that top position? They're completing the pass. So that's 3's requirement here. Is like get it across, get the continuation happening. Okay, so let's say that doesn't happen. We've either gotten a total breakdown, we reset things. We've had some sort of breakdown where this initiating play has not worked. A and B are over here. We've got a force on this side. What do we do? If the cuts have been made here and this cut has come across, so let's say the handler's moved here, they've come down, they've gotten the frisbee. Now we've got the frisbee over to this side. We've got somebody moving across. We've got somebody going deep. Whoops. We've got somebody going deep on this side. A and B have done their piece. It's a bit messy. So one of the problems with the 3-2 split stack is that once you've done the initiating play and it doesn't work, it isn't as easy to get back into positions, and we don't actually want to do that because you start having people crossing each other off, and it's not entirely clear which side of the field you should be going to and how you reset it. So if we do get into this situation, the only thing we want to do is just have the third handler come down. That's great. Even if they don't get the disc, they remain in this position. So now we've got 1, 2, 3 handlers, and everybody just gravitate to a position the same way that we do when we're trying to reset in our normal horizontal play. And then we're just running middle of the middle. So this is why you can think of this as an initiating play instead of one that we will continue to try to work through in different parts of the field, different parts of the point. So typically, if we're running the middle in the middle, this would happen if it breaks down. Everybody would try to get back into their position, and then when we'd restart the middle in the middle, just doing the same pattern, trying to get possession upfield. But in the split stack where we have 3 and 2, we would never try to put 3 here again and then try to re-get the 2 going in this middle section here. We wouldn't try to do that. It's too messy. Just get back into your regular horizontal and play that. That has some advantages because we've shifted our play from one look to another, so the team is anticipating a particular type of defense, and then we shift it over to another. But it avoids all the confusion around how to get back into position. Okay, so just a really quick recap here, and you can watch the video again, obviously. There are 3 people here. This is 1, 2, and 3. This is the way we'll call it, A and B. And then we have our 2 handlers. We have our primary handler and our second handler. This is the center handler. So they come down with the frisbee. We pass it to the center. In this case, B is slashing across. Whoops. B is slashing across here. And they may or may not get it. It's the same thing, middle of the middle. A is going out, and they can either come under, or they can look for that shot to the deep. So if they do come back under, here's A, and they get past, then we've got 3 continuing the cut, and now 3 is in the end zone, and they score. That's a perfectly reasonable scenario. We're all good with that. If the force is the other way now, we still have a continuation. We still have a centering pass. We've got 1, 2, and 3 are there. A and B. Here's A. Here's B. B cuts across. A goes out. The only difference at this point is if B gets it and the force is on this side, then A is still coming down this side, and we're looking for either around or an inside shot for that. Once again, 3 continues the pass. We don't want, in this case, A never comes down the open side at this point. They come down the side. Okay, one last thing. I got to talk about the defense and what the likely defensive look is for this and what to do in that case. Okay, so here's our A and our B. Here's A, here's B, here's the 2 handlers. So typically what will happen is you'll have a defenders come down. They may do a bracket on this side, trying to stop things. That's fine if A and B get shut down. The bigger problem that we have is this defender in particular, number 1's defender, comes over and stands in the lane. This is particularly effective when the force is this way because they're completely blocking the lane. In this scenario, what we need to do is an immediate shot over to 1. As soon as this the defender poaches the lane here, then we want to have 1 receive the disc immediately. They just come back in, they get it. Now they are the 3rd handler. This handler moves into their other position. We immediately reset everything. The play is essentially off at that point, and we just go 1, 2, 3, 4. They've got the disc. They're in a bad spot. What do we do here? We always move it back into the center position at this point. So we always want that center handler to get it back, either one of these 2 handlers, and then again, now we're just running middle in the middle, back down, and then we continue on. Okay, so hopefully you're going to watch this and understand it, and then we're going to try to run this when we start tomorrow. Okay, thanks. 17 minutes, not too bad.